Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving right into a super fun explainer. We've got an amazing adventure lined up called The Wayward Pupil, a prepositional moral tale. Now, we're going to follow a little puppy named Bruno on a surprisingly wild ride. But here's the catch. This isn't just your average story. It's actually a secret grammar mission disguised as a fantastic life lesson about making smart choices. So get cozy, turn on those listening ears, and let's jump right in.
Okay, before we actually meet Bruno, let me ask you something. Have you ever been so distracted by something cool that you totally forgot where you were going? You know, like maybe you were heading to your room to clean it up, right? But then you spot your favorite toy on the floor. You start playing and boom, you completely forget about your chores. Or maybe you were outside, saw a really shiny bug, followed it, and totally forgot you were supposed to go inside for dinner. We've all been there, right? It is so easy for our brains to just get carried away by exciting new things. Well, that exact feeling of getting distracted, that's exactly what happens to our hero today.
Now, our secret tool for today's explainer is a very important word. Are you ready? It's preposition. I know, it sounds like this massive, complicated vocabulary word, but honestly, it's actually incredibly simple and super helpful. A preposition is really just a word that shows direction or location. Think of them as map words. They tell us exactly where something is, like where a little puppy might be sitting, or which direction something is moving. So, as we go through Bruno's story today, I want you to go on a hunt for these special location words. I'll make sure to really emphasize them when I speak, and let's see if you can spot them.
All right, let's get into section 1. Meet Bruno the puppy. So here's how our story kicks off. One really beautiful, lovely morning, a little puppy named Bruno sat under a tree near a river. Did you catch those? Bruno is under the tree. That tells us his exact location, right beneath the branches. And he's near a river, meaning he's close to the water, but he's not actually swimming in it. It's just a perfectly peaceful, relaxing morning for a little dog. Now keep those ears sharp because we're going to start spotting a lot more of these map words.
But, as you might guess, that peace doesn't last very long. Suddenly, Bruno looked across the water and saw a beautiful butterfly flying over the flowers. Did you hear those new map words? He looked across the water, so his eyes went all the way from one side to the other. And that gorgeous, highly distracting butterfly, it was flying over the flowers, meaning it's up high in the air, way above the petals. Oh boy, this little bug is about to change Bruno's entire day.
And that brings us right to section 2, chasing the butterfly. Now Bruno is just a puppy, and he simply cannot resist this colorful, fluttering distraction. The action is really picking up now, and our grammar lesson is going into absolute overdrive. Let's break down how this wild chase starts. First, Bruno jumped right up and ran toward the butterfly. Toward is our preposition showing the direction he's moving. He's getting closer and closer to his target. Next, the butterfly flew through the garden and around the bushes. Through means going in one side and out the exact opposite side, and around means moving in a big circle on the outside. Finally, the puppy followed it along a narrow path. Along tells us he is moving right in a line with that path. I mean, he is really zooming now.
The chase gets even crazier. Check out these movements. First, Bruno went into a forest. Into shows him entering a totally brand new place. Then, he jumped over a log. We heard over earlier with the butterfly, but now Bruno's the one doing it. Next, he crawled under a fallen branch. He's getting really low to the ground for that one. And then, he walked between two tall trees. Between is an awesome preposition that tells us he's got one tree on his left and another tree on his right. Honestly, Bruno is moving so fast, he isn't even paying attention to where he's going.
And then, screech. The wild run comes to an abrupt end. Bruno stopped beside a small pond. He's standing right next to the water, in the space right beside it. The butterfly is totally gone, Bruno is completely out of breath, and things have suddenly gotten very, very quiet.
Which leads us to section 3, lost in the forest. Well, the fun chase is officially over. And it's suddenly hitting Bruno that maybe, just maybe, running off without a second thought wasn't his brightest idea. After catching his breath, Bruno realized that he was far from home. From is our preposition showing just how much distance is between him and his safe place. He looked behind him, but he couldn't find the path. Behind tells us he's looking at the empty space at his back. Feeling pretty scared, he sat on a cold rock. On shows his position, resting right on top of it. Yep, he is officially, undeniably lost. But don't worry. Here is section 4, the wise old rabbit.
Every great adventure story needs a trusty helper, right? Bruno is about to get a little bit of comfort and a whole lot of wisdom. Just as he's feeling his absolute saddest, pop,
An old rabbit came out of a hole near the pond. Out of is a brilliant prepositional phrase, showing the rabbit moving from inside the earth right out into the open air. And hey, there's the word near again. The hole is close to the pond. The rabbit looks at Bruno and says, "Hey there, why are you sitting on that rock?" Poor Bruno explains everything, how he chased a butterfly, wandered deep into the forest, and is now completely lost.
Now pay close attention, because what the rabbit says next is absolutely crucial. The rabbit smiles gently at the puppy and shares this wonderful piece of advice. Instead of running after every distraction, you should think before you act. Did you catch those? The phrase instead of and the preposition after. The rabbit is teaching Bruno our big essential lesson for today. See, when we just run after whatever shiny thing catches our eye, we can get ourselves into a bit of trouble. We really need to hit pause and use our brains first.
All right, time for section 5, the journey home. Thankfully, this wise rabbit isn't the type to just drop some advice and hop away. He kindly agrees to be Bruno's guide and help him retrace his steps safely out of the deep woods. And now that we are practically preposition experts, let's track their trip back. The rabbit walked with Bruno. With shows us they're sticking together. They went through the forest. They safely crossed over a wooden bridge. And they walked along the river. By working as a team and staying focused on the path, all these directional words finally led them the right way.
And finally, we get to the best prepositions of the entire day. Soon, they arrived at Bruno's home. At tells us their exact, specific location. It is totally a word of arrival. And you know what's even better? Bruno's family was waiting outside the house. Outside shows they're out in the yard, ready to give him a massive hug. They were just so incredibly happy to see him safe and sound.
Which brings us to our final part, section 6, lesson learned.
Bruno obviously had a huge adventure, and he got pretty scared out there, but he also gained some incredibly valuable wisdom that changed him for the better. From that day on, Bruno never ran after things without thinking. After is our very last preposition for today. And now, even when Bruno sees another beautiful butterfly flutter by, he just sits quietly and watches it. He isn't bolting after it. He learned how to stay focused on what's actually important. He figured out that he can appreciate something super cool without letting it derail his entire day.
And honestly, that perfectly sums up the entire point of our explainer today. Let's just compare the two choices here. On one side, we have chasing distractions. Like Bruno's story showed us, chasing every little shiny thing can lead you completely away from your goals. And sometimes, it can even get you totally lost. But on the flip side, we have thinking before acting. Just pausing, taking a breath, and using your brain. Doing that keeps you focused, keeps you safe, and ultimately helps you achieve exactly what you set out to do.
So I want to leave you with one final really important question. Next time you find yourself distracted by something shiny, fun, or completely unexpected, what will you do before you act? Will you be like the old Bruno and just run wild without a plan? Or will you be like the new and improved Bruno? Will you pause, take a deep breath, and think first? Keep a close eye out for those distractions this week, and of course, keep an ear out for those prepositions. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.